We have Roxanna Lewis. We have Rachel Barcelona and Karen Sillas. Roxanna is the co-producer and director. Rachel and Karen are the stars of a movie called Mandy's Voice. We're going to be talking to the three of them. Mandy's Voice, I'll tell you now, it's a movie about a girl with autism being nonverbal and being raised by a single mom. Good for now. Hi, guys.
Hi.
We have Roxanna Lewis here. We have Karen Sillas, and we have Rachel Barcelona. Thank you guys for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. We're very excited. We were just talking a few minutes about the movie and having you guys on. I'm actually wearing my Nassau County Police Athletic League shirt. It's the special needs unit that we have for the Police Athletics League. We had a fun event this weekend. So yeah, I'm personally very active in the special needs world. I have an autistic daughter, so I'm very excited to talk to you guys today. Roxanna, let's start with you. What can you tell us about the movie?
Wow, that's a big question. Okay.
Well, yeah, don't give too much away.
Okay, do you mean in terms of the plot line? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so Mandy's Voice, in short, is about I like to call it a visual love story, and it's about a young teen who is nonverbal and goes through a lot of challenges that I think every teenager goes through, and she has an exploration with her mother in terms of how to her mother wants to provide the very, very best for her, and it's about that journey and how their relationship strengthens together over time. That's a short one. Let's try not to give anything away. I'm sure that Karen and Rachel are going to have a lot more to say, so I'm just doing a little warm up for them to add to that.
and I got to tell you, even I can imagine what a single parent would have to go through, because it's not always easy just with two parents. So and now Rachel, the character is nonverbal, right?
That's correct. She is a non-speaking autistic, and I thought that was a very challenging role. I felt like I had to tap into my inner child because I was non-speaking for, I'd say, a majority of my life. I was born, and throughout preschool, I just wasn't talking. So I just wanted to see what that was like again, and that really helped me with the role.
Was it easier? Did it make it acting in this movie easier or harder because you didn't have, because you didn't have to say lines on screen?
Well, I'd say it's sort of a happy medium. I thought it was going to be very hard because I wasn't saying anything, and it was also easy because I was acting from my heart, my own experience, and it's also very hard because you're acting with your entire body, and I was really sore at the end of the day.
So it sounds to me like this movie's going to make me cry. You going to make me cry in this movie?
I think so.
Yeah, like I said, my daughter's on the spectrum, so it definitely anybody who has a personal connection I'm sure is going to cry and really get emotional at a movie like this. And Karen, how about you? What was it? I don't know if you personally have any experience in that world, but how was it for you working on this type of project, or working with a cast and crew that are on the spectrum?
It was remarkable, eye-opening. Nothing different than just being around amazing, creative, artistic people. Yeah, it was an amazing experience. I was very intimidated to begin with.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Then I surrendered because I wanted to, be realistic, playing the mother of an autistic child, and I didn't really have that knowledge, and now I do.
Was there any research involved for that, or?
It's funny you ask. and Roxanna, you can interrupt whenever. The woman who created Piece of Heart, she, it's a home for autistic kids.
Oh, okay.
We had a Zoom conversation just before we started shooting, and she just went, there's nothing you need to do, just be present. So
well,
that was her cue to me as an actor as well. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting, because I personally feel that people, you can tell the difference between people who have experience in that world and who don't. So yeah, that's an interesting answer, because I guess being present is the key, because you know when you first have kids on the spectrum, you don't. It's not like you had previous. Most people don't have this previous experience or previous research, and they're just kind of they're almost winging it. So I guess that's the proper way to do it. So all right, so let me backtrack then with Roxanna. So because you had a cast and crew mainly on the spectrum, is that right?
So it's we have a cast and crew that I'm gonna back up a little bit, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
We originally, when I wanted to go back a little bit, Karen mentioned Piece of Heart.
Okay.
So the film's origins sparked from Josh Hansbrough, who's my film partner on this, and he's also the director of photography. He did a documentary on an organization called Piece of Heart, which is here in Jacksonville, Florida area in Ponte Vedra, and it is an exceptional home for individuals who are non-speaking, and they do extraordinary work there. It's really beautiful. And he thought that it would be an interesting premise to dive into a little bit of that on a more one-on-one level. So this Mandy's Voice is a fictional story that's based on the true life events of an amalgamation of people. And we started originally kind of in a traditional format. This was pre-COVID, and we decided let's just see what we can do in terms of the casting. I sent out casting releases and so on in Atlanta and Los Angeles and really all around. COVID stepped in and changed all of our lives pretty significantly, I think. And that gave me a really wonderful opportunity to dive into the inner life of these characters. And I know we're talking about on the spectrum and on the spectrum in terms of casting, but I think it's important to say that all of this was very, very organic. And when I knew that there was a massive lack of representation in casting and in the voices and portrayal and employment of individuals with different abilities. And I thought we really have something, we have an opportunity to make a difference in the world with this film. And I think filmmaking for anything creative sometimes can feel really small and unimportant, and sometimes it feels like the biggest thing in the world. And I just thought, I went to the team and I said, listen, I'd really like to cast this authentically. I think this is the right answer for this story. And to do anything otherwise would feel just really wrong. And so I remember a lot of enthusiasm, but also a lot of like, how's that going to happen? How, just a lot of questions. And I'm saying this, I hope, to inspire people. That's why I'm telling this long story, is because I remember saying to one of the individuals who was working on casting with us, this sounds really woo-woo, but I just said they're out there. There are individuals out there who are looking for us. They're waiting for us to say, we want you, come audition. And let's just be kind of forceful with that. Let's be very direct with that energy, and let's put it into the universe. We had almost no money. It's during COVID, and also people are upset and sad and going through it. Right. And so, very fortunately, we have a wonderful man named Stuart Bicknell with Illuminations Grip and Lighting. And I called him and I said, I happen to know that his son was on the spectrum. And I said, Stuart, I have this crazy idea. Do you or your son happen to know anybody who would be interested in auditioning? And he gave it some thought, and he said, I know this really extraordinary woman named Rachel. I think you should talk with her and see if this is a project that you guys, if there's something there. And I was like, thank you. So, we didn't, there's more to that story, but to answer your question, a third of the cast and crew approximately is on the spectrum or daily involved. Their real life work is as a therapist or as a parent advocate or an author or an instructor. So it's 4 out of the 5 cast members have are involved in the community 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that came to us very naturally, and it felt like the right way to go. We didn't go out and say, hey, let's specifically hire people who, you know, have red hair or whatever we want to say. We said, who are the best people to tell this particular story?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head there. They're out there. They're capable. We were talking just before we brought you guys on. We had, you know, we had an event this weekend with our PAL, and it was our annual family picnic, and we played softball, and we were talking about how we had a parents versus participants game, and we were talking about how the participants, you know, they play softball just as hard and just as good as anybody else, and they were totally beating the crap out of us parents. You know, but that's exactly it. They're out there and they're totally capable of playing a softball game, working on a movie, working in a certain trade, whatever it may be.
Right.
And I do know, you know, unfortunately, the numbers, you know, percentage-wise, it's very low as far as the people on the spectrum working, you know, full-time jobs. So, you know, so you guys have made history with this, and I applaud you for all the efforts to make that happen, and hopefully it leads to a lot of other things, you know, not just, you know, for people like Rachel acting, but the whole, you know, everybody, you know, that was working on that movie in any capacity. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. Rachel, you mentioned, you know, that you didn't start speaking until 4. I don't know how much of that you remember, but you know, did you use a lot of your own experiences in life, you know, to play this character?
Well, I definitely remember a lot of it. And one of the stories I tell people is that I remember when I was in preschool, my mom was with me, and I couldn't really talk back to the people that were in the principal's office because I was sent there. And pretty often, because nobody knew what to do with me. And there were doctors, and just it was painful to not be able to say anything when they said I wouldn't amount to anything.
Oh, wow.
So I did use a lot of my own experiences when I played this role. But what's interesting is that I initially turned the role down. And that's really important to say, because at first, when I was approached to do the role, I thought it wouldn't be right because I'm very verbal right now, and I just thought that, and I totally get it, because as an autistic actress, I have a lot of trouble getting work, and I can't imagine how hard it is for someone who's not speaking. So I said, I will do voiceovers or whatever you want me to do, but let's find a non-speaking actress. So we put the effort to do that, and there was just too many sensory issues, and I experienced that firsthand with the lights and the sounds. It was a little too much for me sometimes.
Sure. So
eventually I said I'll try it, and it was a really good experience.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now I know you also sing, right?
I do. I am a classically trained opera singer.
Whoa.
And at the moment, I have a role in an off-Broadway show called Bat Boy. And I don't know if it's true or not, but it might.
We've actually interviewed the people for Bat Boy.
Yeah,
really?
Ray Negron, right?
Yeah,
he's been in here.
The girlfriend.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's fantastic.
That's awesome.
So it might go to Broadway. I don't know if that's true or not. You know, he's very ambitious.
Yes.
Well, good for you. That's really awesome.
And you get to work with some baseball players, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my whole thing. I work with a lot of people in sports, and I'm on the board for Culture City, so that's really, really sports driven.
Sure.
This is going to be a long interview.
It's all right. We find it really interesting. Like Tony said, his daughter has autism, and one of the things that he, like, I don't know if you want to ask things, but I'm curious, just as someone who's involved with, you know, someone with special needs. Like when you were so frustrated as a 4 and 5-year-old not being able to say, were you able to speak before you could write? Like when you first could write, was it just amazing to be able to say what you wanted to say to someone in print finally? Like how did that feel for you? I bet it must have been just amazing.
It was amazing. I know that I was writing before I could talk, and that sort of translates into my life right now because my dream is to be an author and get the stuff that I write for fun published. But that's kind of how I would communicate. I would basically tell stories and write them down, and that was really a way of communicating for the longest time. I would just stay up in the wee hours of the morning writing on old construction papers, and that was it.
Yeah.
My character, Mandy, she has so much inside of her that she just wants to let out, and that happens over the course of the movie.
And how and was it? How was it working with Karen? Because she's been in a lot of film. She's done a lot of theater. Did you pick her brain a lot and get a lot of support from her? As far as an actress is concerned.
Yeah, we got along really well, and she really was like a mother to me in real life because I got a lot of acting tips, and that's good because I haven't acted in a long time. I did a few small things on TV and independent films when I was a kid. I think one of the things that I'm known for is that I did a trauma film called Slimed when I was about 7 or 8, and I loved it. It was hilarious, but ever since then I just wanted to focus on school and being, I don't know, real life. But I did a lot of acting work when I was in school. I was a thespian, and I just, none of it really sort of clicked when it came to TV or movies. I was just on stage in small shows.
Which do you like more, being like the production of a movie or being on stage?
Yeah, I mean, I like both of them. I think I do have some experience because I did both, and not too bad with technological stuff either. I know that in my freshman year, we did Little Shop of Horrors, and I had to push and operate the Audrey 2, so that was really interesting.
Nice. That's great. And Karen, how did that feel? Were you kind of like the the hot person on campus there, teaching all the people, teaching them all how to act and giving them all the tips? After all, you were on The Sopranos, so you must have been the hot shot on set.
Well, I really am gonna. How do I answer that? Yes, I know my stuff. Yes,
right.
I know my stuff. And everybody around me knew that I knew my stuff, and kind of imitated and joined in. It was an amazing experience. Yeah, I mean, each one of the crew and working with Rachel, I mean, remarkable. As she said, she originally turned it down. I didn't turn it down. I just thought there's no way I could do good to this role because I'm not in that world.
Sure. Somebody mentioned the sponsors before. I think it might have been Roxanna. So you're still looking for sponsors? Is that correct?
We are. We're looking for individuals and organizations who'd like to join into the team, from donations of $10 to executive producer upwards of $2,000. We're looking for about $9,000 to get through post-production and festivals, and we have done a phenomenal job at raising everything we needed to get through casting and completing our principal photography. So we're really at the finish end of this, and receiving just really wonderful responses and a lot of support. Like you guys, thank you so much for this opportunity. So things are going really well. Good.
And yeah, like you mentioned with COVID and whatnot, I'm sure that's postponed a lot of the festivals. I think most festivals aren't even until next year. So it must be frustrating. You're probably dying to get the movie out there.
Yeah, I mean, I also think it's interesting because this film has gone through a lot of iterations before it got into the hands of the cast and into myself even. So I think in my personal point of view, everything happens at the right time. And if we hadn't waited, and if it's hard to say this, but if COVID hadn't happened, we may not have even come together as a team. So
Okay.
I'm just so thankful that, there was a bit of a strange silver lining for us
Sure.
to make this film under these circumstances. I think it really consolidated the intention of the film, and I think it's made it much more accessible to a larger population who understand what it is to feel very isolated and to not have a voice and to not be able to express it and to not be heard. So I'm hoping that those kinds of themes will speak to a much broader audience, and also open our hearts up and develop some empathy and some compassion in times when we all need it.
Yeah, especially now, I think we definitely need that. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so real quick, we appreciate the time. We're really excited you guys are here. And I know Rachel mentioned Bat Boy. Karen, what do you have coming up in the future, or coming up next?
Coming up next, I just moved from the West Coast, from LA back east, so just moved to Connecticut.
Oh,
so
nice.
I've been very consumed with the transition of the one kid going into college, another going into high school, knew everything.
Oh, good
so
for you.
That's kind of what I'm working on right now.
Well, good. Well, all the best to your kids there.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Roxanna, I understand you're also a choreographer. Is that right?
Yeah, my roots are as a professional choreographer, from Barefoot, Hoofing It at SUNY Purchase. Karen and I are both alumni of
nice.
SUNY Purchase, which is how we originally connected. And then through Broadway and musical, every kind of production. So that was a really important component to directing this film, was understanding how to communicate through the body and how to use our bodies, and how, as a director, how to relate to physical language that is different for each individual.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I would think, that's something I didn't even think about. I'm sure just, the scheduling and the amount of hours in a day for filming and whatnot, it probably had to be a lot different than when you used to shoot films. You had to deal with routines and different type of scheduling, I would think, right? Yeah,
absolutely. And also in terms of our rehearsal period,
sure.
We're all sitting, on our backsides on Zoom, because of COVID, and we're in different parts of the country. And so to be able to build the rapport amongst the cast specifically through Zoom, but also how do we translate that, and how did that arc occur when it was time to come together physically, because we're also, again, very isolated, kind of sedentary, not used to using our bodies. And then how to do that in a way that, of course, doesn't look like choreography, but is authentic to putting feeling and emotional life into our physical life. And like Rachel said, for her character in particular, it was very taxing. And so to have that awareness of how that also affects the schedule and the breaks that are needed, or how do we schedule one scene after the next in order to get the most out of the performances, was a really big part of this production.
Wow, yeah, that's amazing. I can't wait to see this movie. This is going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I can't wait to see it.
Now, so Rachel, you got Bat Boy coming up. Can we now, you don't have to if you don't want to. I'll put you on the spot. Do you feel like singing something for us?
Really don't want to spoil it.
That's fine. I was kind of teasing
Tony. You just screwed everything up.
That's what Ray told me too. No spoilers.
That's great. All right, so we'll let you guys go. Let me just ask quick, Roxanna, give us the, where everybody can find you, all your social media outlets.
Yes, please come visit us. Our website is www.mandysvoicefilm.com, Mandy. And that's it for all of it. On Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Mandy's Voice Film, Mandy's Voice Film, at Mandy's Voice Film. We'd love to have you come visit, say hello, message us, share your thoughts with us. If you'd like to join on as a sponsor, we would really love to include you in that. And again, thank you both so much for having here.
Oh,
with you.
it was our pleasure. It was, this was, again, we can't wait to see this film. This is historic. There's so many documentaries out there, but, there's so little, actual, real films.
Explaining how it feels.
Right.
The idea that, Mandy, you could hear her voice when she isn't able to speak. I think that's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's going to, I don't know. I think it's really it's going to matter. So thank you.
So, yeah, we appreciate your time very much. You guys were great. And, Karen, it was a pleasure talking to you. Big fan of The Sopranos. I loved you in Sour Grapes. So it was a big pleasure to have you on here. And we hope to talk to you guys again. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah, keep us updated on what's happening with the film. And we'll be glad to share that here with our family here as well. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.